The darkness of deep space held no warmth. It never had. But for 30 long years, Captain Hyen Woo had called this cold void his home. Now as he stood on the bridge of the U.S. Tiguk's Wrath, watching the familiar stars grow brighter through the viewport, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope mixed with burning anger. "Captain, we are approaching the outer marker of what used to be human space," Navigator D-Ho reported from his station. His voice carried the excitement of a young man who had never seen the worlds of his birth. D-Ho was one of the Exile children, born in the cold metal halls of the ship while they wandered the empty spaces between stars. Hyen Woo nodded slowly. His weathered face showed the years of command, the weight of keeping 800 souls alive when the rest of humanity had been scattered to the winds. Deep scars ran from his left temple to his jaw, a reminder of the last battle at Centauri Prime when the aliens had shown their true nature. "Chief Engineer So Young, report on ship status," he ordered. The woman at the engineering station looked up from her screens. Her hands were stained with coolant fluid, and her uniform showed the patches and repairs of 3 decades of keeping impossible machines running. "Captain, we are holding together with prayers and spare parts. The main reactor is stable but running at only 70% efficiency. Life support is good for another 6 months, maybe 8 if we push it." So Young had been barely out of the academy when the betrayal happened. Now she was the most skilled engineer in what remained of the human fleet. She had learned to make miracles from scrap metal and determination. "Weapon status, Tae-jin?" Hyen Woo asked. "Weapons." Officer Tae-jin looked up with eyes that held the cold fire of revenge. He had lost his wife and children in the first wave of attacks. "All systems operational, Captain. The new quantum torpedoes are loaded and ready. The aliens will learn what 30 years of exile has taught us about warfare." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of machinery. Everyone knew what they were returning to find. The question was whether anything of humanity remained to be saved. "Sir, I am picking up alien communication signals," reported Communications Officer Yuna. She was young, maybe 25, with the quick fingers of someone who had learned to decode enemy transmissions while hiding in the dark. Multiple species, all using the old human communication networks. Hyen Woo felt his jaw tighten. The aliens were using human technology, living in human space, probably sleeping in human beds. The rage he had carried for 30 years burned hotter. "What are they saying?" he asked. Yoon-dash worked at her console for several minutes, her face growing darker as she translated. "They are discussing trade routes through the former Sol system. The Vexari have claimed most of the agricultural worlds. The Netherians have taken the ocean planets. The Zephirites control the mining colonies." "Any mention of human survivors?" So Young asked from her station. "None, sir. According to their transmissions, humanity is extinct. They refer to us as the ghost species, completely eliminated during the Great Cleansing. The Great Cleansing. That was what the aliens called the systematic destruction of human civilization." Hyen Woo remembered it differently. He remembered the Treaty of Centauri Prime, where humanity had offered peace and cooperation. He remembered the moment when the alien ambassadors had smiled and activated hidden weapon systems. He remembered the screens over the communication channels as colony after colony went dark. "Captain," D-Ho called out, "I am detecting a massive space station where Mars colony used to be. It appears to be some kind of shipyard." Hyen Woo moved to the navigation station and looked at the long-range sensors. The structure was enormous, easily 10 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Ships moved around it like insects around a hive. "What kind of ships?" he asked. "Unknown design, but they are big. Much bigger than anything in our databases. It looks like they are building something new." Tae-jin joined them at the navigation station. His face was grim as he studied the sensor readings. "Captain, those ship designs. They are specifically built to fight human tactics. Look at the armor configuration, the weapon placement. Someone has been studying how we fight. Or they have been expecting us to return, So Young added quietly. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had hoped their return would be a surprise. The possibility that the aliens had been preparing for this moment was troubling. "Sir, I am detecting something else," Yuna reported. "Encrypted signals using old human military codes. Very faint, but definitely human in origin." Haiyan Wu felt his heart skip. "Can you decode them?" "Working on it, sir. These are old resistance codes, the kind used by special forces units. Whoever is sending these signals has been hiding for a very long time." The minutes passed slowly as Yune worked at her station. The bridge crew watched in silence, hoping against hope that they were not the last humans in the galaxy. "Got it," Yuna finally announced. "The signals are coming from multiple locations. New Bizon, Harmony Station, the ruins of Earth's moon base. There are survivors, Captain. Humans who have been hiding and fighting for 30 years. The bridge erupted in quiet celebration. Smiles appeared on faces that had not smiled in years. Haiyan Wu felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he had carried since the day they fled into exile. "What are they saying?" he asked. "They are reporting alien troop movements, supply shipments, weak points in the occupation forces. They have been preparing for something big. Or someone big," Taejin said with a dangerous smile. Haiyan Wu looked around his bridge at the crew that had become his family. These people had followed him into the darkness and emerged stronger. They had learned to live in the cold between stars. They had developed new technologies, new weapons, new ways of thinking about warfare. The aliens thought humanity was extinct. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Set course for the edge of the asteroid belt," he ordered. "We need to establish contact with the resistance networks without revealing our presence to the aliens." "Aye, Captain," Daeho responded. As the Tuvok's wrath moved deeper into what had once been human space, Haiyan Wu made a silent promise. To the memory of his father and all the humans who had died in the Great Cleansing. The aliens had taken everything from humanity. Now it was time to take everything back. The Wanderer had returned, and with it, the promise of a reckoning 30 years in the making. The Taeguk's wrath moved through the asteroid belt like a shadow. Captain Haiyan Wu had ordered the ship to run silent, using only passive sensors to avoid detection. For 3 days they had been listening to the resistance signals, trying to understand what had happened to the humans who stayed behind. "Captain, I have established contact with the resistance cell on New Bizon," Communications Officer Yune reported. Her voice was excited, but she kept it low. Even in the privacy of their own bridge, 30 years of hiding had taught them to speak quietly. "Put them through," Haiyan Wu ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the face of a woman in her 50s. Her hair was streaked with gray, and her eyes held the hard look of someone who had seen too much. Behind her, Haiyan Wu could see rough stone walls and the glow of improvised lighting. "This is Miran, leader of the New Bizon resistance. Are you really human, or is this some kind of vexury trick?" "We are human," Haiyan Wu replied. "I am Captain Haiyan Wu of the U-East Tevok's Wrath. We are the survivors of the evacuation fleet." Miran stared at him for a long moment. Then her tough expression cracked and tears started flowing down her face. 30 years. We have been waiting 30 years for this moment. "Tell me what happened after we left," Haiyan Wu said gently. Miran wiped her eyes and straightened up. "The aliens thought they had killed everyone, but thousands of us made it. To the underground shelters. We have been hiding ever since, fighting when we can, surviving when we must." She turned to someone off screen. "Jinho, get over here. You need to see this." A man appeared next to Miran. He was younger, maybe 40, with the stained hands of an engineer. His eyes went wide when he saw the bridge of the Tuguk's Wrath. "That is impossible," Jinho said. "That ship should not exist anymore." "We are hard to kill," Tajin said from his weapon station. Jinho laughed, a sound that held both joy and desperation. "I am Jinho, former military engineer. I have been reverse engineering Vexery technology for 20 years. Wait until you see what we have built." Mayran nodded. "The resistance is not just hiding anymore, Captain. We have been preparing. Every alien patrol that goes missing, every supply convoy that disappears, every communication relay that gets destroyed, that is us. How many of you are there?" So Young asked from her engineering station. "On New Bizon, maybe 5,000. In the deep tunnels. Across all the occupied worlds, we estimate 50,000 survivors. Not many compared to what we used to be, but we are organized." Chief Medical Officer Haewon leaned forward. "What about the aliens? Are they treating prisoners humanely?" Miran and Jinho exchanged dark looks. "There are no prisoners," Miran said quietly. "They capture humans for experiments. They want to understand why we fought so hard, why we were so difficult to defeat." The bridge fell silent. Hyenwu felt the old rage building again. "What kind of experiments?" Haewon asked. "They study our brains, our reflexes, our ability to adapt. They are trying to create artificial humans to serve as soldiers," Jinho explained. "So far they have failed, but they keep trying." "Captain," a new voice called out. Another person appeared on the screen, a young woman with quick eyes. "I am Yoonji, communications specialist. I have been monitoring alien fleet movements for 15 years. You need to know, they are scared." "Scared of what?" Hyenwu asked. "Of you, of us. Of the possibility that humanity might return. The Hegemony Council meets every month to discuss the ghost threat. They have nightmares about human survivors coming back for revenge." Taejin smiled coldly. "Good, they should be scared." Eunji continued, "But Captain, they have been preparing. The shipyard you probably saw at Mars Colony, they are building ships specifically designed to fight human tactics. They have studied every battle from the war, every human strategy. They think they know how we fight. They know how we used to fight," So Young said. "They have no idea what 30 years of exile has taught us." Navigator Daeho looked up from his station. "Captain, I am detecting movement from the direction of the Mars shipyard. Multiple ships heading this way." "Patrol ships," Yoonji said quickly. "They run sweeps through the asteroid belt every few days. You need to hide." "We have been hiding for 30 years," Hyenwu said quietly. "I am tired of hiding." "Captain," Miran said urgently, "there are 12 ships in that patrol. Heavy cruisers with Vexery warriors and Etherian shock troops. Your ship cannot fight them all." Hyenwu looked at his weapons officer. Taejin was studying his tactical display with the concentration of a predator watching prey. "Captain, I count 12 ships, but they are using old formation tactics. They expect to find smugglers or resistance fighters, not a military vessel. We could take them." "With what?" So Young asked. "Our shields are at partial strength, and we only have enough power for a short engagement." "We have the quantum torpedoes," Taejin replied. "And we have something else. We have 30 years of anger." Chief Medical Officer Haewon spoke up. "Captain, if we reveal ourselves now, every alien in the system will know we are here. The survivors will be in danger." Miran's voice was firm. "Doctor, we have been in danger for 30 years. If you can hurt them, if you can make them afraid, then do it. We can take care of ourselves." Hyenwu looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. They had all lost everything in the Great Cleansing. They had all spent 30 years preparing for this moment. "Jinho," he said to the engineer on the screen, "do you have weapons?" "Captain, we have been building weapons for 20 years. We have been waiting for someone to show us how to use them. Then watch carefully. You are about to see what happens when humans stop hiding. Haiyan Wu turned to his crew. Battle stations. It is time to remind the galaxy why they used to fear us. As the alien patrol ships moved closer, the Taiguk's wrath prepared to emerge from the shadows. The ghosts were about to become very real, and the aliens were about to learn that some nightmares come true. The hunt was about to begin. The 12 alien ships moved through the asteroid belt in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with the blue-green metal that the Vexery preferred, and their weapons arrays glowed with ready energy. They had done this patrol 1,000 times before, expecting to find nothing more dangerous than smugglers or scavengers. Captain Haiyan Wu watched them approach on his tactical display. The alien ships were larger than the Taiguk's wrath, and there were 12 of them against his one. 30 years ago, those odds would have been impossible. But 30 years ago, humanity had fought with honor and mercy. Weapons Officer Taejin. Are the quantum torpedoes ready? Haiyan Wu asked. All tubes loaded, Captain. The new warheads are armed and ready. The aliens have never seen this technology before. Chief Engineer So Young, can we maintain power to all systems? For 15 minutes of full combat, Captain. After that, we will need to retreat or risk reactor shutdown. Haiyan Wu nodded. 15 minutes would be enough. It had to be. On the communication screen, Miran and her resistance fighters watched with wide eyes. They had dreamed of this moment for 3 decades, but seeing it happen was almost too much to believe. Captain, Miran said quietly, are you sure about this? Once you attack, there will be no going back. Every alien in the galaxy will know that humanity has returned. Good, Haiyan Wu replied. Let them know. Let them remember what happens when you betray humanity. The alien patrol was now only minutes away. Their sensors had not detected the human ship hiding in the shadow of a large asteroid. The Vexery commander was probably thinking about his evening meal or his next promotion. He was not thinking about ghosts coming back from the dead. Tactical. Officer Sangho, what is their formation? Haiyan Wu asked. The young officer studied his screens. Sangho had been born during the Exile, trained in the deep cold of space. He understood warfare in ways that the older generation could not imagine. Standard patrol formation, Captain. 3 ships in front, 6 in the middle, 3 in the rear. They are using communication protocols that are 20 years old. They think they are safe. Intelligence analyst Yoon Seo, what can you tell me about their crew? Yoon Seo was one of the Exile children who had learned to read alien minds by studying their technology. She could predict their moves before they made them. Captain, the lead ship has a Vexery commander who has been on patrol duty for 8 years. His crew is bored and overconfident. The other ships are following his lead without thinking. They expect to find nothing. Haiyan Wu felt a cold smile cross his face. Overconfident enemies made the best targets. All ships, this is Patrol Leader Zach Tai, came a voice over the alien communication channels. Yuna had cracked their codes years ago, beginning standard sweep of Sector 7. Maintain formation and watch for scavenger activity. The alien ships spread out slightly, their sensors probing the asteroids for signs of life. They were looking for desperate humans trying to scratch out a living in the rocks. They were not looking for a warship that had spent 30 years learning new ways to kill. Captain, Taejin reported, I have target locks on all 12 ships. Quantum torpedoes will penetrate their shields and armor. They will not know what hit them. Fire, Haiyan Wu ordered. The Taiguk's wrath unleashed its fury. 12 quantum torpedoes streaked through space, each one aimed at a different alien ship. The weapons were invisible to standard sensors, appearing as harmless energy fluctuations. Until the moment of impact, the first torpedo struck the lead Vexery cruiser. Instead of exploding on the hull, It phased through the armor and detonated inside the ship. The explosion tore the vessel apart from within, sending debris spinning. Through space. What was that? Zack 2 screamed over the communication channels. Where did that attack come from? The second and third torpedoes found their targets. 2 more alien ships disappeared in brilliant flashes of light. The careful formation began to break apart as the surviving ships tried to figure out what was happening. "Patrol leader, we are under attack by unknown weapons," reported one of the ship commanders. "We cannot locate the source." "Impossible," Zack Tihei replied. "There are no military ships in this sector. Humans are extinct." The 4th, 5th, and 6th torpedoes struck home. Half the alien patrol was gone in less than 30 seconds. The remaining ships began firing randomly at asteroids, hoping to hit whatever was killing them. "This is impossible," Jinho whispered from the resistance base. "I have never seen weapons like this." "We learned many things during our exile," So Young said proudly. "We learned that mercy is a luxury we cannot afford." The surviving alien ships finally detected the Tagook's wrath as it moved out from behind the asteroid. Their sensors screamed warnings about the human warship that should not exist. "Human ship," Zack Tihei broadcast on all frequencies. "Identify yourself. You are in violation of the Hegemony Treaty." Haiyan Wu activated the ship's communication system. His voice carried across space to every alien ship, every listening post, every command center in the system. "This is Captain Haiyan Wu of the United Earthship Tagook's Wrath. There's no treaty between humanity and the Hegemony. You broke that treaty 30 years ago when you chose genocide over peace." The alien ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and missile swarms filled the space around the human ship. But the Tagook's Wrath was no longer where the aliens expected it to be. "Adaptive armor is holding," So Young reported. "Each hit makes us stronger." The remaining alien ships watched in horror as their weapons had no effect. The human ship seemed to learn from each attack, its armor shifting and changing to deflect the next shot. "This is Commander Vex Thor of the Heavy Cruiser Domination," came a panicked voice. "We need immediate reinforcements. The humans have returned, and they are not the same species we defeated before." Haiyan Wu's voice cut through their communications like a blade. "You are correct, Commander. We are not the same humans you betrayed. We are what you made us. We are what 30 years of exile and hatred have created." The last 6 alien ships tried to retreat, but the Tagook's Wrath was faster. One by one, the quantum torpedoes found them. In less than 10 minutes, the entire patrol was floating debris. "Broadcast this message on all frequencies," Haiyan Wu ordered Yuna. "Make sure every alien in the galaxy hears it." His voice filled the communication channels, reaching every world that had once been human. "We are the last warship of humanity. We have returned not for peace, but for justice. Every world taken from us, every life lost to treachery, every human who died in your experiments, the debt will be paid in full." On New Bizon, Niran and her fighters cheered. Across the galaxy, aliens listened in growing terror as they realized their greatest nightmare had come true. The ghosts had returned, and they were very, very angry. The news of the destroyed patrol spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the Hegemony Council chambers on Zephyrite Prime, 3 alien species that had ruled human space for 30 years now sat in emergency session. The holographic displays showed the wreckage of 12 ships and the impossible readings from weapons that should not exist. "This cannot be real," declared High Counselor Vexnar of the Vexery. His insect-like features twitched with nervous energy. "We eliminated the human threat decades ago. Their military was completely destroyed." "Tell that to the families of the dead crews," replied Admiral Nefes of the Netherian fleet. Her blue skin rippled with the patterns that showed deep concern. "Whatever attacked that patrol was using technology we have never seen before. The third member of the council, crystalline speaker Zeph All, glowed with angry red light. The message was clear. The humans have returned, and they blame us for the war. They speak of debts to be paid. Back in human space, the single warship had become a symbol of hope that burned brighter than any star. On New Bizin, Miran stood before a gathering of resistance fighters in the deep tunnels beneath the ruined city. Their faces showed emotions they had almost forgotten how to feel. "Friends, the day we have waited for has come," Miran announced. "The Taiguk's wrath has shown us that humanity is not dead. We are not alone. The time for hiding is over." In the crowd, Jinho raised his hand. "What are your orders, Commander?" "We strike at dawn. Every cell, every hideout, every resistance fighter. The Vexery garrison at New Seoul, the Netherian water processing plant, the Zephyrite mining stations, we hit them all at once. Let the aliens know that the humans they thought they had crushed are very much alive." Across the galaxy, similar meetings were taking place. On the industrial world of New Harmony, Resistance leader Kyung Min activated communication networks that had been silent for years. His scarred face showed the determination of a man who had lost everything, but never lost hope. "This is Admiral Kyung Min to all human resistance cells," he broadcast on the secret frequencies. "The Exile fleet has returned. Operation Rising Sun begins in 6 hours. Fight for your worlds, fight for your families, fight for the future of humanity." The response was immediate. From hidden bases on dozens of worlds, humans who had lived in shadows for 30 years emerged with weapons they had been building and perfecting. The aliens had grown comfortable in their conquered territories. They were about to learn that comfortable enemies make easy targets. On the Taiguk's wrath, Captain Hyen Wu watched the communication traffic with satisfaction. The ship's intelligence systems were tracking resistance activities across multiple star systems. What had been scattered groups of survivors was becoming a coordinated rebellion. "Captain," intelligence analyst Yoon Seo reported, "we are detecting massive alien fleet movements. The hegemony is pulling ships from border patrol and trade protection duties. They are mobilizing everything they have." "How many ships are we facing?" Hyen Wu asked. "Approximately 300 vessels of various classes. The Vexery alone are sending 200 ships. The Netherians have mobilized their entire assault fleet. The Zephyrites are bringing their heavy bombardment units." Tactical Officer Sang-ho looked up from his station. "Captain, those are overwhelming odds. Even with our advanced weapons, we cannot fight that many ships." "We are not going to fight them," Hyen Wu replied with a cold smile. "We are going to make them fight each other." Chief Engineer So Young raised an eyebrow. "Captain, the hegemony is an alliance of convenience. They united to destroy humanity because we were a common threat. But they have been squabbling over the territory they took from us. Old rivalries, border disputes, resource conflicts, all held in check by their shared victory. And now?" Weapons Officer Tae-jin asked. "Now they are facing a threat that terrifies them. They will blame each other for letting humanity return. They will argue about how to respond. Fear makes people make stupid decisions." As if to prove his point, the ship's communication array picked up angry transmissions between the alien fleets. "Vexery. Incompetence allowed this to happen," Admiral Nethese was saying in a heated discussion with her counterparts. "Your patrols were supposed to prevent exactly this kind of threat." "Our patrols?" High Counselor Vexnar replied angrily. "The Netherians were responsible for deep space monitoring. How did an entire human warship enter our territory without detection?" "Both of you are fools," crystalline speaker Zepho interrupted. "The Zephyrites warned about human survivors years ago. You ignored our intelligence reports because you thought we wanted a larger share of the territory." Hyen Wu turned to his crew. "You see, they are already turning on each other. But we need to accelerate the process." "Captain," Chief of Security. Wu Jin spoke up from his station. I have a suggestion. We could plant evidence that one of the species has been secretly helping human survivors. Make them think there is a traitor in their alliance. Good thinking. What kind of evidence? Communication logs, supply records, troop movement reports. Anything that makes it look like one species has been playing both sides. Haiyan Wu nodded. Do it, but be subtle. The best lies are the ones that people want to believe. Over the next several hours, the human resistance struck at targets across dozens of worlds. The Vexery garrison at New Seoul was overrun by fighters who seemed to appear from nowhere. The Netherian water processing plant was destroyed by explosives that had been planted years ago. The Zephyrite mining stations went silent one by one as human saboteurs cut their communications, but the most devastating attack was psychological. As the alien species tried to coordinate their response, they began receiving evidence that one of their allies had been secretly supporting human survivors. Communication logs showed Netherian officers discussing human resistance activities. Supply records indicated that Zephyrite mining equipment had been diverted to human settlements. Troop movement reports suggested that Vexery forces had deliberately avoided certain areas where humans were known to be hiding. This is impossible, Admiral Neth Ease declared during an emergency council session. The Netherians would never betray the hegemony. Then explain these communication logs, crystalline speaker Zephel demanded, his crystal body glowing with suspicious orange light. They clearly show your officers discussing human resistance movements. Those logs are fabricated, Neth replied. Someone is trying to divide us. Yes, High Counselor Vexnar agreed. Someone is trying to divide us. The question is who? As the three species argued, their fleets began to separate. Ships that had been moving in coordinated formations spread out as each species decided to protect their own territory first. The unified response to the human threat was falling apart before it had even begun. On the bridge of the Taeguk's Wrath, Captain Haiyan Wu watched the alien fleets with satisfaction. The enemy had more ships, more weapons, more resources. But they had forgotten the most important lesson of warfare, unity of purpose. Captain, Communications Officer Yuna reported. We are receiving a message from the resistance cells. They are ready for Phase 2. Excellent. Signal all resistance leaders. Operation Broken Alliance is now in effect. Time to show the galaxy what happens when humans stop fighting fair. The tide was turning, and humanity was about to prove that. They had learned more than just new weapons during their 30 years in exile. They had learned that survival sometimes required becoming the monster that their enemies feared most. The space around the former Earth system filled with ships, but these were not the alien vessels that had controlled human territory for 30 years. From the deep void beyond known space, humanity's exile fleet emerged like ghosts returning. To claim their home, Captain Haiyan Wu stood on the bridge of the Taeguk's Wrath, watching as vessel after vessel dropped out of hyperspace. The Yu's Eternal Vigil appeared first, its massive hull carrying the terraforming equipment that could restore dead worlds to life. Admiral Jae-sung's weathered face appeared on the communication screen, showing the same hard expression that all the exile survivors wore. Haiyan Wu, you magnificent fool, Jae-sung said with a tired smile. We heard your message halfway across the galaxy. Every alien government is screaming for your head. Good, Haiyan Wu replied. Fear is the only language they understand now. The silent revenge materialized next, its stealth systems making it appear like a shadow against the stars. Commander Su Jin was younger than the other captains, born during the exile years, but her eyes held the same cold fire that burned in all the survivors. Captain Haiyan Wu, she said from her bridge, my fighter wings are ready. We have been practicing for 30 years. The aliens will learn what happens when humans have time to prepare. One by one, the ships of humanity's exile fleet took their Positions: 7 capital ships, dozens of support vessels, and hundreds of fighters. It was not a large fleet by the standards of the old war, but these ships carried technology that had been refined by 3 decades of desperate innovation. On the surface of New Earth, the human resistance fighters emerged from their underground shelters to see the sky filled with their own ships for the first time in 30 years. Miran stood in the ruins of what had been the planetary capital, tears streaming down her face, as she watched the human fleet take orbit. "Jinho," she called to the engineer who had become her closest friend during the long years of hiding. "Do you see that? We are not alone anymore." Jinho nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "Miran, look at those ships. Look at the technology. They did not just survive out there. They became something stronger." In the Hegemony Council chambers, the 3 alien species faced the reality that their comfortable rule was ending. The intelligence reports made horrifying reading. The humans had not just returned with advanced weapons. They had brought technologies that could reshape entire worlds. The terraforming vessels alone could change the balance of power in this sector, reported Intelligence Director Vex Cole. If they can restore the worlds we strip mined, they can support populations we cannot match. Admiral Nethes looked at the strategic displays with growing despair. "Our fleets are scattered. The Vexari blame us for security failures. The Zephirites refuse to share intelligence. We cannot coordinate a response while we are fighting each other." "Then we use the final option," crystalline speaker Zefol declared. His crystal body glowed with desperate red light. "We threaten to destroy all remaining human civilian populations unless their fleet withdraws." The other council members stared at him in shock. Such an action would violate every treaty and law of civilized warfare. But desperate times called for desperate measures. High Counselor Vexnar activated the galaxy-wide communication system. His message went out to every world, every ship, every listening post in known space. "Human fleet, this is the Hegemony Council. You have 48 hours to withdraw from all former human territories. If you do not comply, we will begin executing human civilian populations on all occupied worlds." The response came from Captain Hyan Wu himself, broadcast on every frequency and translated into every known language. His voice was calm, but underneath the calm was something that made veteran warriors shiver with fear. "Hegemony Council, this is Captain Hyan Wu. Your threat has been noted and rejected. However, I feel I should inform you of something important. We know the location of every Hegemony homeworld, every civilian population, every non-military target in your territories." The communication paused for a moment, letting the implications sink in. "You see, we spent 30 years learning about you. We know about the Vexari breeding colonies where your young are raised. We know about the Netherian deep cities where your elders live in peace. We know about the Zephyrite crystal gardens where your people meditate and grow." Another pause. The alien leaders felt ice form in their blood. "If a single human civilian dies because of your orders, we will respond in kind. But we will not stop at 1. We will not stop at 100. We will not stop until your species learns what extinction truly means." In the command centers of 3 different species, military officers stared at their leaders with horror. The humans were not bluffing. The cold certainty in Hyan Wu's voice made that clear. These were not the same humans who had offered peace and cooperation 30 years ago. These were predators who had learned to hunt in the dark. "Furthermore," Hyan Wu continued, "we no longer require your permission to exist. The time of treaties and negotiations is over. You had your chance for peace. You chose genocide instead. Now you will live with the consequences." Admiral Jae Sung's voice joined the broadcast. "All Hegemony vessels have 24 hours to withdraw to your original borders. Any ship found in former human territory after that deadline will be destroyed without warning. Commander Su-jin added her own message. We have 300 fighter craft in this system alone. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a capital ship. Each pilot has been training for this moment since birth. Test us if you wish. On New Earth, Admiral Kyun-min stood in the restored communication center, watching as human ships took control of orbital defenses that had been alien-controlled. For decades, his voice carried across the planet as he spoke to the resistance fighters who had kept hope alive. Citizens of New Earth, this is Admiral Kyun-min. The long night is over. The aliens are withdrawing. Our world is ours again. The celebrations began immediately. In underground shelters across dozens of worlds, humans who had hidden for 30 years emerged into sunlight that felt like freedom. Children who had never seen the sky without alien ships looked up at vessels that carried the emblems of Earth. But Captain Haen-woo felt no celebration as he stood on his bridge, watching the alien fleets retreat. His daughter Hyo-jin approached him, her face showing both joy and concern. Father, we won. Why do you look so sad? Haen-woo looked out at the stars, at the space that would be human again, at the galaxy that had learned to fear his species. We won, Hyo-jin, but look what we had to become to win. Young navigator Daeho, who had been born in exile and dreamed of seeing human worlds, asked the question that everyone was thinking. Captain, can we finally go home? Haen-woo looked out at Earth, scarred but not broken, slowly healing under the care of the terraforming ships. He looked at the stars beyond, at worlds that would be human again, at a galaxy that had learned too late what happened when they mistook human mercy for weakness. We never left, Lieutenant. We were just teaching the universe what happens when you make humans angry. The Taeguk's Wrath set course for Earth orbit, no longer a ship of exiles, but the flagship of a new human empire. The age of hiding was over. The age of human dominance had begun, and in the depths of space, other ships waited in the darkness, carrying technologies and weapons that the galaxy had not yet seen. The return was just the beginning.